Ford Service Credit Card. Subject to credit approval, taxes extra, rebate by prepaid debit card, pads or shoes on most vehicles, one axle, exclusions apply. See your participating Ford dealer for rebate details through 6/30/16.
When your Ford needs service, you need the specialists.
Every day.
Geico presents Kathy, the Candid Real Estate Agent.
Now in the living room, you'll see this beautiful bay window. It's energy efficient and lets in a ton of natural light. It will also let in a thief when you leave it unlocked, and he'll steal your laptop and flat screen TV. Now who wants to see the kitchen?
It's hard to know all that comes with renting a home or apartment. That's why the Geico Insurance Agency makes getting covered for personal property loss and damage quick and easy. Visit geico.com and see how affordable renter's insurance can be.
We are here. We are back. It's better than ever. The day after the Northwest Indiana primary. Mm-hmm. It's a great edition of Younger Life Live. How are you? I'm Rick Federici.
I'm Mary Anthony.
My gosh, what a great day to be alive, isn't it?
It is a great day. I have to tell you, I have to brag for a second. So, we run a pretty busy schedule. Mm-hmm. And yesterday we had our van detailed, which I know people say why it's old and it has 1 million miles on it. But it was so filthy. You've seen my van. It's almost
the
embarrassing.
Van before you gave it to them?
I was afraid they were going to reject us. That's what my husband kept saying.
I'm sorry, I've got a cough and I really can't do this.
I accidentally misscheduled you. We can't fit this disgusting van in this.
It's filthy.
But anyways, we dropped it off the other day, and this morning we left a little early to go to my husband to drop me off at it so I could drive it in.
Sure.
Ooh, it's like spoiling myself. It smells good. It's clean. It's so nice.
When you open the door, Jeremy, your husband on the passenger side, you on the driver's side, when you open the door, did it go, oh?
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
It smells good. Isn't that nice?
It smells
fabulous.
It doesn't smell
like
dog hair and spilled food.
Stuff.
Garbage.
That's mine.
Dirty socks from the kids.
Socks.
The kids changing their, their clothes.
It smells in here. And I've looked at it and you're like under the seat. You're like, oh.
Rotten food. You never know, but I have to brag about that. So we've got a great show today that has nothing to do with the dirty vehicles.
Although socks it might have to do with.
It does. Yeah,
right?
Socks. There we go. There's our tie-in. I just did to brag. I was so excited. So it is a wonderful day. I don't care if it rains all day long. I feel like I could cruise in my van all day long. I love it. So,
hey, there she is, man, with the little dingle balls on her van.
Oh, I love it. It's just nice. So.
Well, it is. I got to tell you, to treat yourself and to treat Jeremy. Now, you could say, and this is what Norm and I do, since in life, and I know how you and your husband are with your children. In life, we say to each other, we just love being with each other. And here's a good note for the Younger Life crowd, no matter what age you are, because it's all about younger, healthier, all that fun stuff. Forget about the Mom's Day gift because there is the gift. You've got Jeremy, your children, and the clean van.
That's it. So there.
I say to Norma, okay, this is a great example. Jeremy, we just cleaned the van. Let's see. That could be Mother's Day, Father's Day, graduation,
there we
Christmas.
go. I know. But you know what? It's totally worth it, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
We don't do it often.
Who's the dude that did it? Is it someone?
The gentleman that does it. Oh, I wish I knew their name just so I could brag about them. They're right off of. They're in Jefferson and LaPorte.
Okay,
so,
cool.
They did a great job. They've done it once before. It's been a few years.
You know,
I joked and said he probably, when you called and told him your name, he probably didn't recognize your name. But as soon as we pulled in, he probably was like, "Oh, I was not. I should never have agreed to that." But still, it was nice.
You know, anybody out there that has a detailing business, the slogan "Here's sniffing ya" could be the actual, verbiage here, sniffing ya.
No.
Where we got your, feeling better, looking better.
Oh, it feels great. So that makes for a good day.
Clean the steering wheel too?
Oh, everything.
'Cause
So
the
it's just so
smudge,
soft.
yes.
And you think, wow, I didn't realize it was that dirty until
See?
you just touch it.
Look
And the whole console
Look
thing
at
is
that
just also
smile
nice.
that you've got today.
I
Look,
know.
you're feeling better.
Oh, absolutely.
All time
Getting
Younger
things in
Life.
order. Yeah, it feels nice. So
right.
that's good. But today we do have a great show. I've been
Awesome.
really excited about this because, I know we have a lot of people that are interested in this. We're talking to a Chicago podiatrist by the name of Dr. Leahy.
Very cool.
She's going to join us on the phone in a few minutes. And we're actually discussing really anything feet related. If you have any questions, please call in, text in, email, whatever. But we're focusing on high heel injuries. Believe it or not, us
sure.
women wear high heels a lot. Especially, you live in a house of women.
Oh,
You said they love shoes.
crazy.
And so the thing is we wear them, we love them, but they are not necessarily great for our feet. So
Your
we have a whole
support
list
system,
of questions.
everything, right?
Well, there is a lot of injuries associated with high heels. So it'll be interesting to talk to her to find out really what kind of injuries are the most common and what we can do to prevent that. And are all high heels bad? Because I'll tell you, I'm 5'2". I like even my flip-flops to have a little
cush?
a little extra. I am short, and my husband is 6'4", so I need a little bit of height.
I noticed that
Yeah.
about, now how are your children in relation to you and your
Well,
husband?
our eldest she's almost 16. She passed me up a couple years ago, but
Nice.
she's not terribly taller than I am. She's about 5'5" right now. So, but my 13-year-old is. She's a hair under me, so we're like eye to eye pretty much right now, and my 11-year-old's catching up quick.
And remember,
they'll all pass me
as you get older.
I know.
Men and women, they shrink.
I know.
I can tell you, my mother, who I love more than anything, who's Energizer Bunny and is edging up on a very distinct age. We never say age right on the air, never. But she's hip, she's rocking it, she's always exercising, she's with her kids and grandkids all the time, and I think that's what keeps her younger. That whole beautiful.
I think so
edge,
too. I mean, I think that's a great
absolutely
point.
Love.
I think this might be our doctor.
Yes.
I hear a phone ringing. I do want to point out that on a local level, obviously, we have a couple great physicians that work with LaPorte Hospital, Dr. Granfield
Yes.
and Dr. Mead, Dr. Christopher Granfield and Dr. James Mead, and they are right off Johnson Road. So, again, if you're looking up under that Find a Doc for LaPorte Hospital, you'll be able to track down their phone numbers and view their profiles and what they specialize in. So I wanted to put that in for sure before we get the chance to talk to Dr. Leahy.
Absolutely.
So.
Thanks to our executive producer, of course, for Younger Life again today, Sanders. We would like to remind you, too, about something real neat happening today at the LaPorte Hospital family and the Family Chapel at 1007 Lincoln Way in LaPorte, Indiana. Now, the LaPorte Hospital Foundation, together with great community partners such as the LaPorte County EMS and the LaPorte Hospital, will be getting automated external defibrillators, and we'll have a little bit more insight into that here on Younger Life. It is a great day. Massive questions are already coming in. Mary Anthony, let's go to the Star VIP hotline this hour, brought to you by LaPorte Hospital. Hi, welcome to the show. And who is this?
Hi, this is Dr. Megan Leahy.
Doctor! We love you.
Yes.
We love you. There are so many questions. The dings in the background are the instant text messages for you, Doc. And we are so honored to have you here, not only live on the radio dial, live on the live stream, but also on TV. You are a superstar, Doctor. Woo! All right. Well, this is great. Tell us a little bit about yourself, please, for our Younger Life audience, if you wouldn't mind.
So I'm a podiatrist, and I practice in Chicago at the Illinois Bone and Joint Institute, and I'm one of the spokespersons for the American Podiatric Medical Association. But I actually grew up in Michigan City, Indiana.
That's
and
awesome.
what drew me to podiatry were basically a slew of track and cross-country injuries over the years, and I definitely was kept healthy by my podiatrist. So I'm born and raised in Northwest Indiana. So
we love that. We love that tie here. You know, I
Yes.
love that. I think that's fantastic. So what did you do in track? I'm curious. I have a daughter in track. Should I really be worried about her feet before we get into the rest of it?
As long as she's fitted appropriately at one of the running shoe stores for shoes, and that's one of the great first steps. But no, running is great for your feet, and I did distance and the mile and the 2 mile and the 800, and then I did cross country in the fall.
Wow. So you really love to run.
That is awesome. Now you sound like a young lady.
I know it.
What are you doing for exercise these days, if you don't mind me asking, because this is all about staying healthy and all that fun stuff. So what do you do to keep yourself, activated, energized, and out there keeping healthy?
Well, my voice makes me sound younger than I am, but I do continue to run, and I still do distance running. Now I have 3 little ones, so I'm usually pushing 2 of them in the dog stroller.
Wow.
These days.
Well, that's
not
a work.
as fast as I used to be.
That's
but
a workout all in itself. I'll tell you that.
absolutely.
That is awesome.
Yes.
So I know that we've got a lot of questions, Mary, and I know that we've got folks that want to chime in. The doc is on the Live Star VIP hotline brought to you by LaPorte Hospital this hour. But I also want to throw out there, if you do have questions for the doc, 219-861-1632. We can get you in, but then we're going to get you off to get other folks on. So Mary, why don't you start off, because we've got a lot of stuff we want to chat about today.
Yeah, that sounds great. I know we're focusing a little bit on high heels today, which I love because I love heels, and I think I love shoes, but I certainly always have a little bit of heel on. But I was surprised to read in a report that more than 70% of women say that their high heels actually cause a lot of pain, yet more than half of them continue to wear 3-inch heels or higher. I think that's crazy to me. Is that a common thing you treat then? Is heel-related injuries or heel-related pain?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. So we do certainly see a lot of acute injuries with high heels. When your foot is in a high heel, it's subjected to an odd angle, and that makes you more susceptible to rolling the ankle and rolling the foot right off of the heel, which could result in ankle sprains, foot sprains, fractures of the ankle, or fracture of the foot. But we also see a lot of chronic problems related to high heels, and pain in the ball of the foot, and neuroma, which is a swelling of a nerve in the ball of the foot, corns and calluses, and definitely if you already have bunions or hammer toes, those can be worsened by wearing high heels.
I was going to say, could you explain, because you threw out 4 terms there for a typical guy. Now, I have my wife and 2 daughters. They're all women. My daughters, I was saying this on the air, I can't believe, doctor, the amount of shoes, the amount of flexibility, whether it's sandals, whether it's high heels, they're all business professionals. They're in college, my 2 daughters. And my wife obviously works 7 days a week for a living. So, but I'm curious, when you say, what is a hammer toe? Somebody out there may be saying, what is that? What is that? Can you explain?
So a hammer toe is basically a generic term for any sort of contracture or deformity of the smaller toes. So not the big toe, but the toes next to those toes. And they can claw, they can contract in all sorts of different shapes. And sometimes it doesn't cause any discomfort, but other times that can cause rubbing in shoes, or the joint can actually be painful. And oftentimes they're flexible in the beginning, and then as we age, the deformity becomes more rigid and is not reducible. So there are many different contractures that the toes can go through, but a hammer toe is basically a generic term for all of them.
I see. Is that a condition treated only with surgery?
Well, taping and padding is also helpful. Sometimes just changing your shoes can make them less symptomatic. Once in a while, if the hammer toe is causing a problem further back into the foot, at the ball of the foot, then we'll do an orthotic for something like that, which is actually usually successful. And it doesn't always mean that there is a surgery is necessary, but once it gets to that rigid level, it's usually not reducible.
Really?
Do you see that? Can I throw a guy spin into this if you don't mind? Because here's a text. Somebody that does work out, that does run, noticing as he's getting older, he's 52, listening to the show, he's trying to think of, he loves the whole running aspect of it, but he's thinking to himself, do shoes also affect men's feet and feet in general? And that is a great question. Thanks for that, out of LaPorte, Indiana.
Absolutely. Shoes can cause problems, help us for men or women, and a lot of injuries that I see as far as runners go are simply because they're in the wrong shoes, or maybe they're in shoes that have far too many miles on them. So you do want to change out your running shoes every 300 to 400 miles, and sometimes it's a little bit earlier or later depending on your gait and your size and what shoe you're in. But that's why it's important to be fitted at a specialty running shoe store. They can watch you run, see which shoe is most appropriate for you, and oftentimes you can ward off injuries that way if you invest in the proper shoe at the get-go, and you can keep yourself out of the podiatrist's office.
We've got a caller on line 1, Star VIP hotline, Younger Life Live. Rick, Mary, you got a question for the doc? Go ahead, please, and welcome to the show. Thanks for calling.
Thank you. Mary, Anthony kind of started to ask the question. I have ruined my feet. I'm so excited about you being on the show today because I am also 5'2", and I have worn the world's worst shoes for my feet. And when people would ask me, "Do your feet hurt in those?" and I'd lie and say, "Oh no," but they really did hurt. And now my toes, I have a hammer toe, I have a bunion, I have corns, I have a drawer full of toe separators, I forgot what these pulled the toes together. Corn pads, everything. And I saw a commercial on TV, actually, over the weekend that was a doctor's office somewhere that offered toe straightening with no surgery. So I looked them up online, and I don't know about that. What do you think, doctor?
So it was an advertisement you saw about toes?
I was watching Lifetime for Women on the weekend, and it was an advertisement for this foot clinic that straightened your toes. They showed before and after pictures with no surgery. How is that, or is that even possible?
I haven't really heard anything in the literature. There hasn't been a study about straightening toes without surgery. Usually, if you really need to have the deformity addressed, then surgery is probably the only option. But you certainly can become comfortable with some of the things that you're already trying, the pads, the spacers, and oftentimes your podiatrist can actually prescribe a prescription-level cream that can deal with painful corns, too.
And salicylic acid straight, or the corn pads work better? What do you think?
I'm sorry, could you say that again?
I know corn pads have that salicylic acid in them.
Right.
And you can buy the salicylic in a little bottle. And I wonder what's the best way to get rid of them.
I would say be cautious with the corn pads that have salicylic acid in them. I usually recommend the ones that do not have the medication in them. Unfortunately, because the skin and the soft tissue on toes is so very thin, I've seen people burn themselves with those pads. And you're probably better off going to a podiatrist's office and pursuing perhaps one of the prescription-level creams. Those are designed to be a little bit more gentle, and they're not as likely to cause irritation or problems with burning.
Okay. Are you a surgeon as well?
Yes, I am, yes.
Okay. What is the worst example that you've seen?
For a hammer toe?
Yes.
Well, certainly some people have hammer toes that... some people have hammer toes that are severe enough that it causes rubbing in the shoes to the point where they have a very sore open wound on the toe, and that's definitely a problem. And if they change their shoe gear and that problem persists, then we have to go ahead and straighten the toe out to alleviate the pressure from the underlying bone to allow that wound to heal. So I would say that's probably the worst case scenario.
Do they come back?
Hammer toes definitely can come back after surgery, unfortunately. A lot of foot deformities, including bunions where the big toe is shifted over, those have a tendency to recur just because of the ground reactive forces that our feet encounter. Causes a lot of stress on the joints and bones of the feet, and that can cause it to recur as well.
Oh, well, I really appreciate your input on this. Thank you.
Oh, my pleasure.
Hey, Doc, can you do me a favor from a guy perspective? I'm not going to throw anybody else into this. It's Rick and Mary, Younger Life, 219-861-1632. If you have a question for the doc, can you explain? You're talking about bunions, and I've heard these terms all my life, but I just would like to educate our audience, both visually and, of course, on the dial and on the stream, about some of these things you're talking about, if you wouldn't mind, please.
Sure. So bunion really in Latin. It doesn't really denote any certain part of the body necessarily. However, it's become linked with the foot for some reason. So there are actually 3 types of bunions that we generally encounter in the foot. The most common one, when you say the word bunion, it usually draws people to think of the great toe joint. So the great toe can actually deviate more towards the lesser toes, the smaller toes, and then there's a bump usually on the side of the foot next to the great toe. And that deviation of the toe as well as the bump is often called a bunion. Now, for some people that's not painful at all, in which case it probably doesn't need to be addressed. But if the joint becomes painful with movement, there may be arthritis in the joint due to the abnormal positioning, or the bump itself is painful as it's rubbed, and sometimes the underlying nerve can become quite irritated.
I didn't
Some
realize.
people even develop what's called a bursitis, which is a fluid collection that gets inflamed in that area, and that can be quite painful.
I didn't even
There's
realize
another
it was
type
a
of bunion that occurs at the great toe joint, and that's basically just purely an arthritic bunion, which usually the bump will be more on the top of the joint or a little bit on the side, and motion is extremely restricted in this type of bunion, and that's due to arthritis, and that can be quite painful as well.
Wow.
There's another bunion that occurs on the outside of the foot, so that's next to the baby toe, and that's called a tailor's bunion. And the reason they called it the tailor's bunion originally is because tailors, when they would sew, they used to sit cross-legged, and the outside of the foot would be beneath them, and they would develop a bump from that with another bursitis or inflammation. So that is a smaller, some people actually call that a bunionette or a smaller bunion that's on the outside of the foot.
Wow.
Doc, we got another call waiting for you, Star VIP hotline this hour. Thanks for holding on with the doctor. It's Rick and Mary, Younger Life. Of course, go ahead with your question this morning.
Hi, Rick, Mary, doctor. It's Dwayne calling, and I have a question about a type of bunion, I believe.
Okay.
Okay.
It's, from what I've researched it now, I've not been to a podiatrist yet, it's the 5th metatarsal.
Okay.
And it's a protrusion on both feet. They stick out, and the more active I've been getting lately, the tighter you have to tighten your shoes, and it has just been murder.
Wow.
But from what I've read online and been researching, I can't see if there's any real procedure to repair it or cure for it, or do you have any insight?
Is the bump, are you noticing the protrusion right by the baby toe, or is it further back in the foot closer to your heel?
It's further back. It's closer down the long side of the outside of the foot towards the heel.
Okay, so that would not be considered a bunion. So that wouldn't be the tailor's bunion that I was just talking about. That is probably a prominent 5th metatarsal base. So you're right on. It is the 5th metatarsal, but it's further back at the base. And pain in that area of the foot may be related to arthritis, where that joint meets another, or that bone meets another bone in the foot. And that's something that can occur with age. There's also a tendon that inserts right into that bone. So you could have a little bit of a tendinitis, too. I would, that might not be a surgical problem. It's something that might work as far as orthotics, or which is a custom arch support. That might be a good option for you. It's hard to say without looking at an x-ray, but I definitely would get into your podiatrist's office and have that examined.
Very good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Again, I'm going to give a phone number for a couple of the local podiatrists.
Sure,
too.
go for it.
They're right off Johnson Road. It's 219-874-2939 for Dr. Granfield or Dr. Mead. They're both local podiatrists. So if you look them up on Find a Doc, you can read their profiles. But I would definitely say get in. Don't be miserable.
And Doc,
right, absolutely.
You know, and I want you to throw out, please, your number as well, because
Yes,
if folks
please,
want to
Dr.
connect with
Legge.
you, we appreciate your time. Your intellect is so awesome,
Right.
and you're helping out guys and gals,
I know,
which I
love
like.
it.
Go, doctor.
No problem. My phone number is 773-777-9900. And we actually have an office right downtown next to the South Shore. So anyone who takes the
that's
train in,
nice.
it's really easy to get to.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
That is absolutely great. Great questions coming in
Wow,
via
I think
instant
there's
email.
there's so many things. I didn't realize that's what a bunion was. You know, I'll tell you, I thought it was more of a. I picture it more as a corn, similar to a corn. So
Right?
that's-
A lot of people think
do.
it's a
That's what I
corn.
think of. Yeah. So I look at what I'm learning a lot, but that is something I definitely learned already. So in doing this little bit of research for today, I was shocked to read the report. I mentioned the number yesterday because it's so shocking.
And what number is that, young Mary?
Between 2002 and 2012, right around 123,000 women went to ER with high heel related injuries. I think that's crazy.
Is that what you see, Doc? I mean, is there that many folks that are affected by this? I mean, in the hundreds of thousands, like that's legit.
123,000 is crazy.
Absolutely. Yes, I definitely think so. And if you know, wearing a high heel is not a normal position to put your foot in.
Right.
And unfortunately, it's very vulnerable when it's in that position where the foot is down, the forefoot's down from the ankle and the heel. And rolling right off of a high heel is very easy, especially if you're rushed or if you're on an uneven surface or maybe you're not really used to wearing a new pair of shoes.
Practice, ladies. Practice. Practice before you go out in them. You don't want to be stumbling around. Practice in your heels. The most common injuries, then, would you say, when you say rolling off the heel, that makes perfect sense to me. Is it then more ankle related, do you think? Is that the...
Usually it would be more of an ankle sprain or an ankle fracture as the force goes through the outside of the ankle. But we also see fractures, so that fifth metatarsal, that's the bone behind the big toe. We see fractures there from high heels. We see foot sprains. I've even seen an injury which is called a Liz Frank injury, which is a very bad injury involving the midfoot that is always a surgical problem and can be something that, it's one of those injuries that kind of sticks with you for life after it. But that's another very serious injury that can happen after being in a high heel.
Wow. Well, as far as just someone that may not have an injury, but just, typical pain associated with heels, is there anything that women can do to help alleviate the pain?
Absolutely. So first off, if you can try to go into something that has more of a wedge, you'll be a little safer walking in those heels. It's just a more stable platform.
More
and
support.
There are a lot of cute wedge options.
There really are.
Yeah, there really are, especially in the springtime and summer. And another option that you can do, a lot of shoes now have a hidden platform within the ball of the foot. So you can give the illusion that you're in a much higher heel, but your foot is not subjected to that same angle. So it looks like you're in, a 6-inch stiletto or something, but then within the
I would fall. That would be an injury for me.
she get the look, Doc, when you look back at this TV video, be like she did one of whoa, bulgy eyes.
I would be falling. That is huge. But I do love that. There are so many options with shoes. Are all heels then bad for our feet, or should we just look for these different ones that maybe don't put us so much pressure on the ball of the foot and on the toes? I mean, is that the best thing you can do when shopping for heels?
Yes, and some shoes have a little bit more cushioning in the balls of the feet, which is perfect. If you can go for something that does that, or you can even add a cushion into the ball of the foot. Some people even go into orthotics to keep themselves in high heels, and your podiatrist can help make you some dress orthotics that can alleviate some of that discomfort. Absolutely. And certainly when you do go shoe shopping, it's best to do that at the end of the day. Everyone's feet swell a little bit by the end of the day. That way you can make sure you're in the right shoe.
Can I ask you, again, a guy question, but no questions are dumb here on the show. When you say orthotics, doctor, can you explain that side of the equation to the guys and gals out there, orthotics just in general?
Sure. So orthotics are basically custom inserts for your shoes. And a podiatrist will either take a mold of your feet or a scan of your feet to create these. They'll write a prescription and then send them to a lab, and then a custom device will be made for you based on what's going on with your feet, what level of deformity you have, and what shoes you'd like to be in. So there are a lot of factors, and that's why a podiatrist is a great option to kind of go through what would work best with your lifestyle. And then those are things that you'll break in slowly and then start to wear on a daily basis.
You know,
some people wear them only for sports. Some people wear them all the time.
You know, one of my daughters consistently over the years has had a lot of ankle pain. So originally, I mean, I'm talking a couple years ago, not the track runner, my second daughter, she plays sports also, but she always has ankle pain. So we ended up finally, we'd seen our pediatrician, and, you know, kind of just, she would get done with the sport and be limping, you know, just miserable as we prop up the feet, ice them, I mean, Tylenol, Motrin, whatever, everything to try to help. And
what was the outcome?
well, he said it was, I think it's ankle pronation. Am I saying that right, doctor?
Yes,
where she
you
had to
are.
be fitted for orthotics also.
Can you explain that?
Well, what it was, so the orthotics were supposed to, it's just how her heels, like, you know, when you're walking, where the pressure went on her heels was different compared to, it didn't allow her feet to move in the same way that ours do when we walk. So these inserts, you know, I say they're not like this, but I say, you know, like those cushion, like gel cushions.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going through my mind.
It's not what it is, but it's similar to that it fits in your shoe, except these are harder plastic or rubber or something, and she takes them out and puts them in whatever shoe she's wearing every day. I mean, and that's what she does, and it has helped. It hasn't completely gone away. Is that normal? I didn't think to call the
Doc, can you
podiatrist,
explain
but-
that side of it, and is that common, and can you kind of expand on that a little bit?
So, yeah, so that's orthotics. Actually, sometimes we do make them soft, too. It just depends on what type of sport you're in or what your needs are. But what an orthotic will do will change the way the foot functions. It doesn't reverse deformity, so the way pronation will persist when you're not in the orthotics, and they only work while you're wearing them. But certainly, if she still has pain, I would take her back to the doctor to get checked out, because foot pain is never normal, or ankle pain is never normal.
Good point. It's not as severe. I mean, I point out that it's not, you know, we don't finish a day of being out running around and her literally limping into the house. It's not that anymore. Just sometimes, especially at night, if we've had a busy day, she'll say, oh, my ankles are bothering me, you know, but nothing like they had. So it certainly has helped. And it's shocking that just that teeny bit of adjustment can make that big a difference. You know, It really is amazing.
Doctor, we just had someone chime in. Would love to connect with this doctor. Can she please give again how you get to her downtown and off the South Shore? Chiming in on the instant text there. If you wouldn't mind, can you please do that?
Sure, no problem. So it's 773-777-9900, and it's Illinois Bone and Joint Institute. Our website is www.ibji.com. And we're located downtown at 150 North Michigan Avenue. So that's just right across the street from the South Shore at Randolph in Michigan.
I love it.
Awesome.
That's a great little area, and like you said, it's right off the South Shore. We've got direct links to that off the sites as well, to the South Shore schedules. And how does it work too? Someone chimed in and asked about, they don't know if they have a problem, but they do have some potential issues. You would be the pro to know, but how does that work with a consultation? Is that insurance covered, or can you explain that side of the coin to the average viewer and listener today, please, doctor?
Yeah, so it is through insurance, and typically when someone calls the office, they'll give the insurance information, and they go ahead and get the prior authorization for that. So podiatry is considered a specialty, so that would play in as far as the insurance goes.
That's perfect. That's great. Younger Life, of course, today, this is a great topic, and I'm loving the calls. 219-861-1632 on the Instant Chime. Mary?
Yes, I have a question. This is actually my own question. I have teenage daughters and a little tween daughter, too, that she, of course, they beg to wear heels. You know, I mean, if we're getting dressed up or whatever, they want to wear heels. I so far have only allowed the wedge-style shoes. I just feel like it's easier, it's safer because of the ankle kind of thing. Is that what we should really encourage our kids to stick with then?
Yeah,
is that
as much
smarter
as you can hold out, I would encourage them to do more of the wedge. Usually I wouldn't suggest it until they reach skeletal maturity, which, you know, sometimes is as old as 18 and to 21. So But obviously with special events, when girls are dressing up, they like to, wear a cute little wedge.
Of course.
I think that's a safer option. But try to restrict it to special occasions, and certainly avoid doing a lot of walking or standing in the heels.
Okay, good point.
That's a great question, and that's a great answer, because a lot of us that have had daughters, mine are 18 and 22, it's interesting. My one daughter wears heels to work and to everything. Mm-hmm. The other one's very much a sports, and for her job, she doesn't have to wear it, and obviously her focus in college will be nursing and stuff like that. So for her, she's all excited because, for work, she'll be wearing a very specific, attire, and from that point, but
she won't be in heels all day.
Exactly. Now, on the guy side of things, is there anything that you could throw out there, doctor, that would help men and or young boys, whether it's sports related, guys in general? Because for the most part, I wear dress shoes when I need to wear dress shoes. I like my gym shoes. I wear sandals. I find that a lot for me personally, like sandals, I have to have very specific sandals. Some work and some just don't. But do you see anything out there that you could, throw some, expertise out there?
Just tips while we're looking.
And I think a lot of people would just, men or women, it is important to do the bulk of your walking really not in your dress shoes. So I work downtown in the Loop, and you'll see a lot of commuters who are walking through the Loop with gym shoes on, and I think that's a great choice. They get to the office and then they change into their dress shoes once they get to work. Mm-hmm. And that's a great way, to get more out of your shoes. You won't beat up your dress shoes by walking long distances in them. But it's always good to be in a shoe that's activity appropriate. So don't do weightlifting at the gym in your running shoes, and don't run in your cross trainers. So if you can try to keep those shoes activity appropriate, that's helpful. Sandals are tricky. So as the weather is finally starting to get a little bit warmer, people are kicking out the flip-flops and all of that. They're really not appropriate flip-flops anyway to do prolonged walking or standing in them. They definitely keep podiatrists busy because we see a lot of injuries and problems with flip-flops too.
Yeah.
And but sandals, if you are going into a sandal for a very hot day, as long as you're not doing a very long walk in them or working out in them, they should be okay. But make sure you get something that has decent arch support built into it already. And you're always better off trying to get a sandal that locks the heel in a little bit or locks the ankle in with a strap. That's a better way for the foot to function versus something that's completely open in the back. Okay. And the muscles of the feet and the tendons of the feet will strain to keep that shoe on.
Is that why flip-flops are so bad? Is that the why flip-flops are, such a problem causer?
Exactly. Okay. So if you are wearing a flip-flop and you look down at your toes while you're walking, you'll see your toes grip.
Yes.
And that's not a good thing. That can cause contractures and cause tendon imbalances in the foot, and that leads to tendonitis, and we'll see plantar fasciitis, which is inflammation of the heel with that. And certainly they just don't protect you from the outside world very well either, just because your foot is out there. So I see injuries as far as stepping on glass, and the glass will get kind of stuck up underneath the flip-flop.
Okay.
Hey, Doc, we've got one of the inside trackers here at Younger Life who asked to please come into the studio to connect with you today. Mary, welcome. The doctor's on the line. Go for it and ask your question, please.
Hi, doctor. Here's a quick question. When the second toe crosses over the big toe?
Yes.
What do you call that?
So that is typically just called crossover toe, but you will see all sorts of different descriptions for that. Some people call it predislocation syndrome or dislocation syndrome. Some people will call it plantar plate tear, which is the ligament that kind of holds that second toe down is disrupted in the ball of the foot. It's also called synovitis or capsulitis, which means inflammation of that joint in the ball of the foot. And some people will call it metatarsalgia, which means inflammation or pain of the metatarsal. And what happens is usually it's caused by the second metatarsal, which is the bone behind that second toe, is longer than it should be. Some people call that Morton's toe. So instead of the bulk of the push-off going through the big toe, it's translated over to that second joint, which isn't nearly as able to withstand that force. And with years and years and years of that second toe getting all of the pressure through it, the capsule and tissues start to thin out and fail, and then that destabilizes that toe, and then the toe just crosses right over that big toe. Some people get a bit of bunion as well, where the great toe deviates the other way, so the two toes kind of cross each other. And that's something that depends on the severity of it. A lot of patients actually do really well with orthotics for that, though. So that would be those custom inserts for your shoes. And if that doesn't work, sometimes we have to get you into a shoe that has more of a rocker bottom at the front that protects the ball of the foot. Or if that doesn't work, then it usually becomes more of a surgical problem where we actually have to shorten that long bone and also correct the hammer toe, which is the contracture of the toe as it crosses over.
Do you do 1 foot at a time if surgery is the answer? Is that how you do it?
It really is surgeon dependent, and it's dependent on the patient as well. It really, doing 2 feet at once is pretty tricky. You need a good system at home as far as family members or friends helping you out as you recover for that, because elevation is really important. I personally do 1 foot at a time. There are surgeons who will do both at once.
Wow.
And it just really depends on your needs and how you're able to recover.
How long is recovery?
Yeah, because I was going to say, that's got to be crazy.
Does surgery, but let me ask this, does surgery result in a straight toe then?
Yes, so the surgery would definitely correct that deformity of the toe, and it depends on the severity. Sometimes it's hard to get it back to the way it was when you were a little girl, but that's the goal, is to reduce the deformity. And the recovery is really long, really, for any foot surgery.
I can imagine.
What we tell you is, that foot won't feel like your foot for about a year.
Oh, my
Well, I mean, how long would you have to be off work?
It depends on your job. So some people just need to be home for a couple of weeks to elevate if they have more of a desk job and if they're not on their feet a lot. But if you're someone who requires the use of your foot for part of your job, then you may be off work for 6 to 8 weeks for that type of procedure. It depends how much work you would need to have done.
Would Medicare pay for that?
Yes, they do, absolutely.
Okay. Well, I might wait a couple years.
You won't be able to do the hokey pokey, and you won't be able to do the cha-cha slide.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Mary. I'm sorry.
No, don't be sorry. I think those are great questions, and something that's so relatable. It really does affect so many people. I mean, obviously, our feet take a beating.
Well, it is from the wrong shoes then. It is, doctor, correct? I've worn the most ridiculous shoes in my lifetime. That's probably what caused it, right?
It's really genetics. Don't blame yourself. You can blame your family for it.
Everybody's dead.
The foot deformities we encounter are definitely a genetic problem. We're not really sure how they're inherited, but shoes make them worse. So bad shoe choices will make them more symptomatic and more painful, but they also can cause these deformities to progress a little faster. But don't beat yourself up about shoes. That's not. We see bunions and hammer toes in barefoot populations too.
Okay.
Well, when you go for the surgery, could you have multiple surgeries at one time that you're already under the anesthetic? Have your 1 foot at a time fixed?
Absolutely. Yep. It depends what's going on, but oftentimes you'll try to address multiple things at once while you're just under anesthesia.
Can I throw this out there from a guy perspective? So Mary is here chatting with you, Doc, and of course, what I would say is at that point, would you suggest, as a doctor, as a pro, as an expert on this, would you say to that person who may have those problems, and I'm just thinking out loud as a guy because I never want to get yelled at by my wife, my daughters, or any other women in my life who I love and respect, but would you suggest to them, would it be in their best interest to not wear specific shoes and to change their shoes so then they don't have that discomfort? What do you say to that? I'm just curious.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Definitely. And
I'm wearing a pair of wedges right now.
Good.
Okay, so if you have that problem, wedges are probably not the best for you. I would get down into a flat with that problem. But yes, I'm not a fan of pursuing foot surgery just to get yourself into a high-heeled shoe, because we all know a high-heeled shoe is not a natural position for your foot.
Yeah.
So if foot surgery is, it's no picnic. It's not something you should dive into just to get yourself into a shoe that you like. So you're usually
I just
better
don't
off trying
want
to
little
get back
kids
down
to-
into a flat.
I just don't want little kids to stop me at the beach and say, "Ooh, what's wrong with your toes?" That's my main problem here.
Yeah.
You're so vain. Thank you, Mary. Thank you for being you. Great, great
it's
input.
great information.
I'm so excited
Right.
you called in today.
Yes.
You're awesome,
great.
doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I have one last quick question about shoes in general. You know, for a while there were mixed reports about the sneakers that had, you know, like they were a little elevated in the heels, and the theory behind them is the way you would walk in them, they were supposed to help tone the rear end.
Right.
Whoa.
And I'm curious, you know, then there was a lot of like mixed reports about if that was actually healthy or if
You
they
really
weren't.
believe that?
No, but you know what? I loved them. They were so comfortable, and I loved I loved walking in those. I mean, they felt great on my feet. But then I became worried because I read a report. I don't know if it was true, but it claimed there were a lot of hip issues with those type of related shoes. So I thought, ew, maybe I don't want to cause issues. I just want to tone booty. I don't care about that.
She wants to tone booty, doctor.
So anyways, do you find that's puts us at an increased risk of injury if we wear those type of shoes too?
Well, yes, and no. So a ballet flat, for instance, a really flat shoe that has no heel is not that great for your feet either. So you kind of have to find that happy medium. And you'll notice men's shoes and women's shoes, even when other than a ballet flat, there usually is a little bit of a heel under all shoes.
Right.
And there's a reason for that, because your foot tends to function a little bit better with something under the heel. But if you start getting a little bit higher beyond that 2-inch mark, then that can start causing problems, 1.5 inches to 2 inches. That can start causing problems with the alignment of your entire body, all the way up to your head. Really, to be honest. So some people will get manifestations as back pain or hip pain, and I don't believe that those shoes actually tone your rear end at all. But
Darn.
it's probably not a great idea to use a gym shoe that has a higher of heel to forefoot ratio when it gets to be too high. But we do see that there's kind of a happy medium for that.
Okay. Well, good. So at least I shouldn't be afraid of wearing them, but probably not make it my everyday.
If it sounds too good to be true, there, young Mary, it probably is.
You know what? I thought, why not give it a try?
No, it's awesome. It's fun.
I'll try anything.
Doc, you want to throw out any final thoughts here on Younger Life? Things that you could, kind of educate our viewers and listeners on. You have been just an awesome wealth of information. I so appreciate your time, and it's an honor to have you on there. But anything else you want to throw out there to everybody just to kind of get them in tune with what's going on?
Sure. So, the biggest thing is foot pain is never normal. I don't know why it is in our society we tend to just struggle through foot pain, but there are plenty of things that your podiatrist can do for you to help you feel much better. And oftentimes the great thing about podiatry is you usually walk out of the office feeling better than when you walked in. If you go to apma.org, you can actually find a podiatrist if you plug in your zip code. I know Dr. Mead, he's wonderful. I actually used to be one of his assistants a long time ago. And so you have great podiatrists in the area as well. And I'm happy to help out, too, if anyone's willing to come into the city. But I think the key point is there are a lot of non-surgical options that podiatrists can offer. Sometimes we just do have to take you to the operating room. But always remember, foot pain is not normal, and definitely get into your podiatrist's office for that.
Good point.
You're awesome, doctor.
Thank you so
much. We
much.
would love to have you on again. You're
absolutely.
a wealth
Thank
of
you.
information. Thanks for your time.
Anytime. It was my pleasure. It was really great talking with you all.
Thanks.
All right,
Have a
thank
great
you.
day. Thank you.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. I got to tell you, if you could throw out the local flair on the docs that
let
you had,
me
and it's
tell
kind of
ya.
cool to see her local tie-in.
I love that I knew
It's
she had
so
local
great.
ties,
Yeah.
but I didn't realize she's even actually worked with one of our own podiatrists locally,
which
which is
I love.
fantastic. So again, the two that we have, they're actually right on Johnson Road.
Okay.
It's Dr. Granfield and Dr. Mead.
Okay.
Their office phone number is 219-874-2939. And again, I mean, I think that's fabulous that she even knows them, let alone worked with them. So I just, she's so full of great information, and she's right. You shouldn't have to suffer through any pain, especially because there are so many non-surgical options out there. So I would please encourage any of our listeners, if you're having issues, call one of these guys, see what they can do, and tell them you got to hear Dr. Megan Leahy.
Yes.
I think that especially since they know her, I think that's fantastic.
It's neat
she's awesome.
to see how her story evolved as a young woman,
right?
And the reason she went into her
field. That's what's always fascinating to me.
I
love to find what brings people to where they are.
Absolutely,
I think it's. I love the stories of that so much more than just finding out. And I think that's great.
Younger Life, more than just a story.
That's for sure.
Want to throw this out there from our good partners at LaPorte Hospital, who sponsor the VIP hotline, of course, and some of the cool things in our area today. May 4th in the LaPorte Hospital Family Chapel. They're located at 1007 Lincoln Way in LaPorte, Indiana. The LaPorte Hospital Foundation, together with community partners such as the LaPorte County EMS and the LaPorte Hospital, will be gifting automated external defibrillators, AEDs, and they're going to serve up 7 area schools and universities. The program is a collaboration between community partners to eliminate sudden cardiac death in LaPorte. So we're going to have more on this particular
It'll be
subject.
fascinating.
Really cool.
I'm really excited about that. I'm going to try to be there for a little bit to watch the demonstrations. It's very sad when we watch, we hear the stories over the years. We have teenagers, in sports that just,
absolutely,
undetected heart issues, things you just don't know.
Fall over and die, let's be blunt.
I mean, it's true, and it's gut-wrenching.
As a parent, as a viewer, listener,
and
you get it.
And so to learn more about these AEDs and learn more about how to use them and them being available in schools and stuff, I think it can make a big difference. Now, it's not going to fix everything, but just to know that at least at that point there's nothing else you could have done, I think is fantastic. So I'm really excited about that, and we're going to film a little bit of that so we can hopefully air that at a later date too. And they have a bunch of great stuff going on right now, but I know one of the most things I was excited about in numerous locations over the whole month of May, if I'm not mistaken, right? They're doing bone density screenings.
And this is cool because with the bone density screenings, and osteoporosis, brittle bones can be very dangerous. Look for the mobile health unit, of course, in your neighborhood, as Mary had mentioned. And today is one of those days, by the way, May 4th, noon to 1:30 at the PAC Center. And the PAC Center is at 605 Washington Street in LaPorte. Got one coming up on May 6th at Bailey's Discount Center, and that's off of Range Road in North Judson for our Indiana viewers and commuters. And then in Michigan City, Mary, on May 10th at the Goodwill at 3822 Franklin. They're going to be out there 10 to 11:30, but a whole list of this and more up online for LaPorte Hospital. And again, making a difference right here in our community and a tie-in with Younger Life. So I thank you for bringing that up today.
I think it's great. I appreciate you had that stuff ready today. I think that's perfect. And it's important to get those things out there because they, are always doing cool things, but we don't necessarily hear about them, or you hear about them, but there's so much going on. But these are things going on right now, and, they're free. So, take advantage and.
And I want to throw this out there in a final note for today's show from your Younger Life family here with Mary Anthony and Rick Federici. Here's what it is. If you dig music, First Fridays in the Chapel, happening this Friday, 1007 Lincoln Way. Bring your lunch. By the way, stop by Cafe 1007. You and I love their healthy lunches.
Yeah, get your lunch
You
there.
can bring your lunch up, see the jam session, enjoy some good music right around the noontime hour in the chapel over at LaPorte Hospital at 1007 Lincoln Way. So I am really stoked. So what do we got coming up in upcoming shows here on Younger Life?
Tomorrow we're still confirming that we're doing, it's supposed to be our Ask the Pharmacist
Yes,
tomorrow.
sure.
So I know Cindy, who we love, was may have a conflict for tomorrow. So that's still on the fence. But as of right now, if you do have any questions, any we didn't get to last time, I've already saved and have them ready for tomorrow, unless otherwise noted. So right now, that's our plan. And then Friday, we're going to be sharing the piece from the LaPorte County Mobile Library Unit.
Yeah, it'd be awesome.
I know, that was so much fun. So.
And then Monday, of course, we got Jackie, Jenny,
that's it.
and Dwayne
Next
back.
Week, that's it. So, this, it's always fun, always something different. And I think that's what makes it fun. We're, always learning new stuff. And today was fabulous.
Loved it.
I know. She
as a guy, learned something.
I did too. Like I said, I didn't realize. There's lots that I learned, but I never even realized exactly what a bunion was. So see, learn something new every day.
Right here on
Especially
Younger Life.
here, you do. That's right.
On behalf of us all at Younger Life and the family, thanks to our executive producer, Sanders. I'm Rick Federici.
I'm Mary Anthony.
AM 1420, WIMS, Michigan City, a Girard Media Company station.
CBS News, I'm Steve Kathan. Donald Trump put the GOP movement to stop him to rest with his big win in Indiana's primary. Now the likely Republican presidential nominee is looking ahead, with chief rival Ted Cruz now out of the race. He tells MSNBC he will go the political route when choosing a running mate. CBS's Major Garrett is covering the Republicans.
It is a different Republican Party he's building. And whether you're comfortable with it or not, if you're in public office as a Republican, you're going to have to decide in the coming weeks, can you live with or must you live without Donald Trump?
Bernie Sanders beat Hillary Clinton in Indiana, but only gained a handful of Democratic delegates and remains far behind. Reports of shots fired at a transportation building in Houston this morning. One report says 2 people are dead. A police officer says the gunman is dead. A high school nearby is on lockdown. A new report just out on school crime finds schools are safer, with drops in violence, bullying, and harassment because of sexual orientation. But school safety analyst Ken Trump says there is still plenty of trouble.
There are many more issues ranging from non-custodial parents trying to take kids out of schools, bullying, aggressive behavior, fights, assaults, sexual assaults in our schools. That still says, unfortunately, that crime is alive and active in our schools.
The government set to expand the Takata airbag recall. Nearly 29 million airbag inflators have already been targeted, the largest auto recall in U.S. history. Another 35 million